Good morning. I'm Thomas Brickner, the instructor for Astronomy 2002 this summer, Summer A. And this is an online class, so uh, we do everything online. We don't have any class meetings. The Summer B, Astronomy 2002, has class meetings somewhere on campus during the second half of the summer. What we're going to do, this is the getting started video for the summer. We'll go over an overview of, the material that we're going to be studying. Then we'll take a look at examinations and grades, how those work. And last, I'll give you a little brief blurb about how to outline material for this class, which I found as last semester was a very helpful thing to go over with students. So let's start with some of our material. First thing we're going to do is talk about some of the great early astronomers like Copernicus and Kepler, Sir Isaac Newton and his friend Edmund Halley. And of course, the big one, Professor Galileo. He's the one that started it all. And they're all important. He's really important. Um, and, he studied Jupiter and, the sun. He started everything. Now, here's a picture of Mars. Um, and we're going to be studying Mars and a bunch of other planets. This one, I love this photo because it's actually a mosaic of other photos of smaller photos, and it just has fantastic resolution. You can see all the details. And this is on a day when there's no global sandstorm on Mars, which happens, but not on the day that they got these photos. So it's pretty nice. Here's a image of Jupiter. And actually, you can see the three of the moons of Jupiter. One of them must be out of the picture or behind Jupiter. And you can actually see the shadows, the little dark spots on the surface of Jupiter. You can also see in the lower right quadrant of Jupiter the great red spot. And we'll be talking about that this semester. Um, and the moons of the outer planets like Jupiter and Saturn are pretty interesting. So we'll talk about those a little bit. Here's another interesting topic, asteroids. The asteroid belt and the stuff that there's a lot of asteroids that aren't in the asteroid belt. Like this one actually comes near to Earth in its orbit. This is the asteroid called Eros. And we've actually landed a machine on there. We've landed a spacecraft on there, still up there, and it's still working. And whenever we need to beam back some information from that asteroid, we can activate it whenever we need. They crash landed it there, I don't know, about 15 years ago, I think. After they made all kinds of study about Eros. Because we definitely want to know about asteroids, because especially the ones that come near Earth, because if they crash into Earth, it's bye-bye everybody. So we want to know about those. Here's a source of excellent information about the solar system. Meteorites, the ones that fall to Earth. Now this one's called NWA 7034. NWA means Northwest Africa. They found it. Somebody found it somewhere in the Sahara Desert. And this one's famous because it's actually a chunk of Mars that got blown off the surface. Some asteroid or something plowed into Mars, ejected all kinds of smithereens, and then some of those escaped the gravitational pull of Mars, and they were aimed towards Earth, and eventually they fell to Earth, and that's what this one is. And it looks like some of the other rocks that we've studied on Mars, so we know it's from Mars. Okay, and determining where an asteroid or where a meteorite came from, or an asteroid or a comet, where they came from, is very important to tell us about the history of the solar system. And we're going to spend a good amount of time understanding some of the structures and makeup, composition of some very famous meteorites and some samples that we've brought back from a comet. Uh, we'll talk about the sun, of course. Here's a picture of the sun. This is a false color um, ultraviolet image from one of our spacecraft, the SOHO spacecraft, about 9 o'clock last night. And I'm recording this on the 17th in the morning. And this is an image, this is the latest one from last night about 9 o'clock. And it shows you, the bright areas are places in the this is actually the upper atmosphere of the sun. And the bright blue parts here are like a million um, degrees temperature. They're extremely hot. Whereas the surface of the sun, where the sunlight comes from, is about 5,800 degrees. That's still pretty hot, but not like the upper atmosphere. Anyway, so we'll be studying the sun. And then when we've done that, we'll talk about stars in general. A lot of stars that we see out in the universe and what they're, do they have any patterns? And that's what Galileo's famous for. He said that the entire universe is like a book that we can read, and it's the sentences in the book are written in a mathematical language, circles, ellipses, um, triangles, and so forth. And we'll be talking about that kind of thing. Now, we're not going to be doing any fancy calculus or trig, but we will do a little bit of math along the way, and including when we talk about stars in general and their patterns. Okay, and they have when they're born, they live, they retire. They move to Florida for retirement, and then they die. And after they die, other things happen that are kind of interesting. For one thing, black holes. And at the end of the semester, we'll talk about galaxies and black holes for a little bit. And just so you know, I'm a PhD physicist, and you could say I'm a theoretical astrophysicist, and I study black holes in the early universe, i.e., the Big Bang Theory, as it's called. And so I know a lot about black holes. So the teaching that you're going to get about black holes toward the end of the semester, it'll be pretty basic, but I'll try to make things understandable and comprehensible to you. And if you have any other interest in black holes, after studying my lectures and stuff, uh, you'll you'll be able to read a lot more. So that's the main. Those will be the last week of the semester: galaxies and black holes. All right, let's talk about examinations and grades. But before we do, let me just mention uh, you're going to be listening and viewing um, my YouTube lectures or my lectures that we published in YouTube back in the spring of 2018, which is the last time I had a lecture course. We've been on this remote emergency for years now, and hopefully fall semester it'll be finished. But anyways, we're still using the spring 2018. They're good videos, so it's pretty good. And you'll be looking at them in YouTube. There's about 20 something, and plus a few extra mini lectures that are in a playlist in YouTube, and you'll see that inside web courses when you get there. So let's get into web courses. First thing that you've got is the schedule for summer A exams. Now, this is a little table that I made up special over the vacation, and it shows, kind of how to pace the lectures. You can see on Wednesday, the 19th, this Wednesday, I have typed in view lecture 2, and the next day, view lecture 3, and the next day, a Friday, view lecture 4. And there's a few UCF deadlines also in the table. And then in yellow, the yellow panel down below that, that's our first midterm. Okay, and the time that it's available. So you're going to have basically 18 hours to get in your midterm. And you'll be able to take it whenever you want during that 18-hour window of availability. And so it opens at 6 in the morning for early birds, and it closes at 11:59 p.m. that same night. And so somewhere in there, you want to block out uh, a 70-minute block of time for your midterm. Okay, and 70 minutes is about what I give the lecture hall students uh, in in a regular semester when I'm giving it in the lecture hall. So you'll have a similar amount of time. You'll be using honor lock, and I'll give you some more instruction about that as we get closer to midterm exam one. And so if you go down the schedule page, you'll see other midterms. So it's hopefully it'll help you stay organized. Another thing to help you stay organized is the mission control page. And this is the first thing you see when you get into the course area itself. Okay, and it basically is a way for that I tabled. I made a table that kind of coordinates lectures, homeworks, and readings. And the exams are in there as well. Here's the very first. Here's lecture one and lecture two, which coordinates with homework one, and then there's some readings. Chapter 1, Chapter 5.1, Chapter 5.5. And just so you know, we jump around a little bit chapter wise, and I try to get everything organized. The third column is very approximate. And when you look at the lectures, you'll think, I better go check Chapter 11, which is about, something about stars or whatever. So sometimes you'll listen to a lecture and you'll want to dive deeper in the book than what's in the third column, which is fine. It's great. I highly encourage that. Further down on the mission control page, there's where the first midterm comes up. My midterms are usually symbolized with the color yellow. That's just my tradition. The final is outlined in black usually, or is got a black background with yellow lettering. If you look at the syllabus page, you'll also see the exam schedule. Now, here's the very top of the syllabus, and you can see midterm exam one there and its date, plus the number of points that you got and a bunch of notes and stuff. Like for instance, we're going to have 3 midterms, and for our semester grade, we're going to keep the best 2 out of 3, and we're going to drop you the lowest one if you have 3. If you miss an exam, then you just get to keep whatever 2 you've got. But if you make all 3, we'll drop the lowest and keep the best 2, and that helps you with your grades usually. All right. Down at the bottom of the syllabus page, you can also see the course summary. So there's like 6 ways from Sunday that you can figure out the exam schedule. And let me just emphasize, if you want to pass this course, you've got to be organized. I mean, there's no other way. And I'm not, you don't see me 3 days a week nagging you about homework and exams because it's not, it's a remote class. All right. So you've got to take responsibility. And if you feel like you're going to blow it, maybe you should, ditch this one and register for Dr. Cooney's summer B session and let him nag you for 3 days a week, 4 days a week, actually. So, and because if you don't, I don't really give it, there's no makeup exams. All right. And so since I don't give makeup exams, if you blow an exam, if you don't make it, there's nothing I can do. We've got a set schedule. You got 18 hours. I mean, even if you work a full 8-hour shift or a 10-hour shift, you still got several hours to get the exam in. So, but you've got to do it. Also, if you have a job off campus, you better make sure to clear the exam schedule on the days that you have exams. Clear it with your boss. Make sure that they don't put you on a double shift or anything like that. And I know some people have jobs with long shifts, but you've got to, we've got almost 260 students in this class now. Now that's enormous for any class, but especially for an online class. We're supposed to be down at 50. And for that reason, we have to keep this exam schedule simple. They're all on Thursdays. And we have to keep to it. It's like a contract now. right? And if we deviate, or so that's why we don't have any makeup exams, because it would just give rise to chaos. So we're not going to do that. All right. So it's up to you to be organized. Stay up with the homework. Stay up with the exams. Homework is always due. The homework I assign for prior to each exam is due the night at 11:59 p.m. the night before the midterm. All right. So if you have a midterm on Thursday, all your homework, like for this first module, it's homework 1, homework 2, homework 3, and homework 3A, and they're all due on the same day, midnight, right before the first midterm. So that's a fairly simple schedule, but you got to do the work. Don't leave it for the last minute, especially during the summer. Right now, a lot of students are always concerned about, how do I outline, and coordinate the lectures and the readings from the book, because Dr. B skips around in the book a little bit. How do I? And we had last semester, I had a big discussion thread going in this course, the Astronomy 2002 online. And some of the students had some really good suggestions. Here's one of them. I mean, the student even made a graphic, an infographic. All right, now I'm going to try to. I can't get that discussion ported over to our semester. So, but I'm going to try to get it to you and republish it as like an HTML page or maybe a PDF. But some of the stuff is extremely good and helpful. Some of it's kind of, metza, but some of it's really good. All right. So that's going to be coming up soon. All right. Now, thanks for listening to the Getting Started video. Do homework 0, that's your attendance exam, and just start working on lectures. Start with lecture 1. Now, don't forget, lecture 1, that was back in spring of 2018, and it was a lecture hall class. So, the stuff that you hear in the lectures, in any of the lectures, if it's about clickers or about the exam, the following Wednesday, don't forget they had their exams in the lecture hall, so you can ignore all that stuff, except when I talk about how to prepare. Okay, so you'll have a different exam dates, of course, and you won't have clickers. But the clicker questions are helpful to study, anyways. And when you look, when I get these outlining the material tips from the students, several of them have some nice comments about the clicker questions in the spring 2018 videos. Anyway, so just be aware of that. So when I talk about pencils and scantrons and all that jazz, you don't have to worry about that, because we're going to be doing all our exams in the web courses. Anyway, so get started, and I'll have some office hours online later this week, and we could talk about any questions you have. Anyways, welcome aboard, and have a great Monday.